Okay, so it's 5:36. My office hour this evening for IS287 started at 5:30. I was just waiting a few minutes to see if anyone joined. So far, no one has joined, so I'll just go over a few things here. If anyone pops in to ask any questions, I'll stop what I'm doing and address those questions. But this week in week 2, we're covering modules 3 and 4, which have to do with VLANs. The first module is specifically on VLANs, and then the third module 3, the first module we're covering this week is specifically on VLANs. And the other module we're covering this week, module 4, is on inter-VLAN routing, which of course is extremely important. So first off, okay, so these will be the two modules that you want to go through this week, and let's just take a quick look here. So the first module, again, an overview of VLANs. You'll get some information on VLANs in a multi-switched environment. You'll begin to take a look at VLAN configuration, VLAN trunks, which of course VLAN trunks are important as far as moving data from switch to switch. And then you'll also learn about the dynamic trunking protocol this week. So that's what's covered in the first module. The second module on inter-VLAN routing, you're going to learn about essentially what inter-VLAN routing is and how it operates. You're going to learn about the router on a stick inter-VLAN routing configuration, which is what would be necessary if you have nothing but layer 2 switches in your environment. You'll also learn a little bit about inter-VLAN routing using layer 3 switches. Layer 3 switches, of course, make inter-VLAN routing significantly easier. As you could imagine, obviously it's a layer 3 device. So, then the last topic is troubleshooting inter-VLAN routing. So along these lines, early on in your IT education, you learned about how if you want to go from one network to another, in other words, if you want to access another network, if you want to send information to another network, you have to have a router, right? For example, if you want to access the internet, you need a router. You need the router to route your traffic from your local area network to another network, or if it's internet access, then you need the router in order to route traffic from your local area network to the internet, and then of course back to your local area network. So so again, you learned early on that routers are needed in order to for one network, one local area network, to communicate with another. Well, hopefully in IS-123, and then again, let's see, I guess in IS-123 and probably in one or two other courses, hopefully you've learned about, or at least heard a little about VLANs. And essentially VLANs give us another way to essentially move traffic from one local area network to another. And obviously VLANs, essentially break up things at layer 2. But of course, if we need to route in between those, we still need some type of layer 3 device, and that's where the layer 3 switch or the router comes into play. So essentially, VLANs give us a way to break things up at layer 2, and just like a router breaks things up at layer 3, if you have a router with two different LANs connected to it, then those two LANs, of course, are separated by the router, and and that's happening at layer 3. But with a VLAN, we're separating local area networks at layer 2. And so just gives us another way to do that. One of the big reasons for that, and really there are probably two big reasons for using VLANs. First of all, both VLANs and routers break up broadcast domains. One of the bigger problems when it comes to network traffic is broadcast traffic. Computers are very chatty. They're constantly sending out information and looking for different devices and all kinds of stuff. As you continue on through your IT career and you start to use tools such as Wireshark and stuff to monitor traffic on a NIC, on a network interface card, you'll see that traffic is non-stop. Even if you're not doing anything, traffic is still non-stop, because again, computers are just very, very chatty devices. So again, because of that, broadcast traffic can really bog down a network if you get too many devices on it. So one of the ways that we can deal with that or minimize that broadcast traffic is with VLANs. Basically, VLANs will isolate that broadcast traffic to to a specific VLAN. So if computer 1's in VLAN 10 and computer 2's in VLAN 20, the broadcast traffic from computer 1 will never reach computer 2. So that breakup there helps to deal with some of the traffic issues. One thing that you have to consider with respect to that, though, is that some services depend upon broadcast traffic, and one of the more common ones that you're familiar with is DHCP. When you first bring up a computer that's using a DHCP server to get its IP address, the very first thing that it does is it searches for a DHCP server, and that search actually uses some broadcast traffic, because at first you think about the process, the computer doesn't, the first time it doesn't know where the DHCP server is, doesn't know anything about it, and so it's going to send out a broadcast message looking for the DHCP server. And if there is a DHCP server that gets that broadcast message, then it will respond. So, again, you need to kind of think about things, when you're breaking up a network. If you have computers that you put on a specific VLAN and you don't give them a way to communicate with another VLAN, say, the VLAN where the DHCP server exists. Say there's not a DHCP server on the same VLAN as the computers. Well, if you don't give them a way to communicate with the VLAN where the DHCP servers reside, then they have no way to actually reach the DHCP server to get an IP address. So there's stuff like that you have to think about, and but anyway, that's that's a lot of the basics that you're going to learn about this week, and then again you're going to learn about how to not only configure VLANs, but you're going to learn about how to configure inter-VLAN routing using the router on a stick inter-VLAN routing method. So at the CCNA level, we don't get into layer 3 switching a whole lot, so you're not going to get a whole lot there, but I guess just understand that configuring inter-VLAN routing on a layer 3 switch is much simpler than configuring a router on a stick. So, but the layer 3 switch inter-VLAN routing can get a little confusing, the more VLANs that you get and that sort of thing. But the configuration is in general is much simpler than the router on a stick inter-VLAN routing configuration. Just a quick look at your announcement, or excuse me, your assignment for this week. You have the lab assignment, and you have the exam on modules 1 through 4, so make sure you take care of that this week. For your Unit 2 assignment, which is on VLANs, you're going to have, what do we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I believe it's 6 different labs here that you're going to complete this week, and by completing all those labs, you'll learn everything you need to know about configuring VLANs and trunk lines and all that sort of thing. Trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to go over. I still have not had anyone join for the office hours. I believe that's about it. Other than I will show you one thing. Keep in mind, just kind of in general, when you work in IT, you're never going to have all the answers. There's just too much to know. And so, one of the primary skills that you need to develop is the ability to research problems and to find solutions on your own. Working in IT, you're going to be doing that every day. You're not always going to have someone that you can turn to and, ask a question. Matter of fact, there'll be a lot of times you won't have anyone to turn to. You'll have to figure things out on your own. And anyway, obviously there's all kind of resources out there, YouTube and obviously Google, and basically the answer to any question that you can have, any question that you can possibly think of, the answer is out there on the internet. All you have to do is search for it and find it. So anyway, what I'm getting at here, I'm gonna on YouTube, I'm gonna do a search for Cisco inter-VLAN routing configuration, and let's see what we come up with. So here you see, here are some options. Looks like, this one's titled How to Configure Inter-VLAN Routing Configuration in Packet Tracer. This looks like possibly a good one to check out. Just based on the image here, it looks like they're configuring the router on a stick inter-VLAN routing. So, and the reason why I say that is because it looks like there's just a layer 2 switch and a router here. So that's probably what that is. This one here, you can tell by the title, they're going to cover the router on a stick inter-VLAN routing on this video. So, and if you want to learn, of course this isn't covered, like I say, in our class, but if you want to learn about how to configure inter-VLAN routing on a layer 3 switch, right here looks like is a video that will cover that. So, so if you run into any questions throughout the week on, things you have to configure, or if you run into something you'd like to learn a little more about, do some research on it. Again, everything is out there on the internet. You can find, the answer to absolutely any question you could possibly have. The key is just learning how to search for things, and basically all that boils down to is learning how to word things correctly. and sometimes even myself, having been in the field for a long time, when I'm searching for something online, at first I may not know the best way to word my search, but I can tell based on the search results, if I got back what I needed, or if I didn't, then usually what I got kind of gives me some indication as to how I need to reword my search so I can actually find what it is I'm looking for. But anyway, that's about all I'm going to cover in my live office hour this week. If you have any questions on anything, please don't hesitate to reach out.